So to our top story this morning, it is make or break time for the Prime Minister as a Conservative rebellion is growing over his latest iteration of the Rwanda bill.
So you've got this whole collection of Conservative MPs from the right of the party and from the left of the party. On the right, they've formed what is termed a star chamber, whatever that means. It seems to be an unprecedented gathering of 4 backbench groups. They will decide whether to support his latest policy on Rwanda.
And on the more moderate Liberal side of the Conservative Party, around 100 MPs within the One Nation caucus are also meeting to discuss their support for the Rwanda plan, and they're due to give a statement later this evening at 7 o'clock.
Right, yet despite that, it will be COVID, which preoccupies most of Sunak's day. From 10:30, he will be giving evidence at the COVID inquiry in his capacity as former Chancellor.
Well, let's get some analysis in all of this then from the political commentator Alex Armstrong. So I suppose the question is, how worrisome is everything that's going to happen with this Rwanda bill for the Prime Minister?
Extremely worrisome. Like, bearing in mind, there hasn't been a defeat of government bill since Thatcher, right? So we're going back a long way, and it's going to take 29 MPs to defeat this bill. So Rishi really needs to keep everyone on board here. So it's looking like he's managed, Rishi Sunak, who self-dubbed himself as a safe pair of hands, has now managed to upset both the soft left of his party and the right of his party. He can't seem to make anyone happy at the moment. And, of course, today we've got the first, reading of this so-called Star Chamber. I don't know who gives people these titles. They just come up with them themselves. So these are the top lawyers in the Conservative Party. It's led by the veteran Brexiteer, Sir Bill Cash. So they're going to go and give their assessment today of the Rwanda bill. But we already kind of know what they're going to say, because Bill Cash has put forward some thoughts in the Telegraph yesterday, and he said it's not sufficiently watertight enough to meet the government's objectives of flights taking off to Rwanda. So we already know there's going to be MPs voting against this. So it's really going to come down to, is there appetite to push Sunak out into the fields here to see if they can find a new way to negotiate with him on this policy to get what they really want, which is a tougher piece of legislation. Or perhaps Sunak will say, back it, or I'll leave. We're in unprecedented waters here.
I think he is between a rock and a hard place, to be fair. I mean, how on earth do you appease those two wings when, you've got the One Nation who are frankly just allergic to anyone tampering with any kind of international treaty, and then you've got the right-wingers who literally want the Prime Minister to go harder. I think in many ways you could say that if this first reading of the bill fails, first time since the 80s, it might well be the end of the current Conservatives.
I mean, I can't see a way forward for Rishi here. I think he's checkmated himself. And we know, look, he inherited this policy, so let's be clear, it's not his policy, but he has to do something here. And I don't know what the political waters are looking like for there to be some kind of leeway on either side. So either way, we're going to get some form of rebellion. It just depends on how big it is.
But he must have seen this coming. I mean, to send what's his name?
James Cleverly.
Out to Rwanda, and all of us are just told, oh, there's an agreement, and we see handshaking going on. We're not told what's in it. And then suddenly all of this begins to, well, what actually did Cleverly present out there? And it seems to be not a great deal different than there was before.
Yeah, that's right, Eamon. There's not really much, not much has changed at all. And, as I think there's been the common joke this week, there's been more ministers in Rwanda than anyone else, more Tories in Rwanda than illegal immigrants, so to say. I mean, look, he's in really hot water at the moment. I really think Rishi's going to have a tough week. On top of that, we've got COVID inquiry coming up, whether he's going to be called Dr. Death. The big one, Dr. Death. I mean, what kind of a title is that? Dr. Death, Rishi Sunak. So we've got all the buzzwords. We've got Star Chamber. We've got the 4 families, which was originally the 5 families. We've got Dr. Death. We've got it all this week. It's going to be a complete show. And on top of that, we have the COVID inquiry really about to kick off today. One slip up, and I think it's all done for Rishi.
OK, Alex, foreboding stuff, that.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. GBviews@gbnews.com. Alex